Throwing in another wattle here. Late August 2025. Beautiful wattle time for a lot of species. Not every species, but a lot. And this is one that gets a bit of a bad rap on the eastern coast of New South Wales. It's a beautiful plant. It's just not beautiful in an ecological way. It's well and truly gone weedy in this part of the world. But this is Acacia saligna. It's called the golden-wreath wattle. Some people might call it the willow-leafed wattle, and that's what saligna means. It's referring to these sort of really long willow leaf-like phyllodes. This is native to Western Australia only. It grows on that western coast area and along the south coast, that beautiful sort of unique Western Australian flora hotspot. I think it goes as far north as Cowbarry National Park, or close to that area. It comes down the south. It comes south down the west coast through Perth and those areas, and then comes around the corner, you know, to the east. And I think it's as far as sort of Cape Arid National Park, around there or north of. That's sort of the natural range. However, this wattle has well and truly gone weedy, not just on the east coast of Australia, but it's gone weedy worldwide as well in a lot of places. I saw this plant growing just next to beaches on a Greek island. I don't know if that's due to the Australian connection. There's a strong Australian connection on this Greek island of Rhodes, just near Turkey there in the Dodecanese in Greece. You see some, on roads, you see some bottle brushes and some wattles, and you meet a lot of Australian Greeks as well. Whether that's the Australian connection, it was growing in sort of disturbed areas behind the beach, just there in Rhodes. So a little bit depressing, but it was there. Acacia saligna on the east coast, it really loves a wasteland. It just likes a wasteland area. I don't mean to refer to areas like this, but this is just a disturbed kikuyu grass sort of patch with some regenerating weeds and wattles and casuarinas and some other things like that. It's part of the whole big Lucas Heights waste management facility, and I think this might have been landfill back in the past, and we've just got these areas now that are probably sitting on top of rubbish and are highly degraded. That's where Acacia saligna will like to hang out. It doesn't really invade our intact native bushland. I would argue that it doesn't, although it will sort of invade our sand dune vegetation close to the beach. I guess I have seen it in some eastern suburbs, Banksia scrub in Sydney, right there close to the water, but it was sort of growing with some disturbance as well. It was growing in a sort of degraded weedy area. It was brought into the east coast to put on roadsides as a planting, and it was also used for dune stabilisation and dune rehabilitation, and that's where it really kicked off. It sort of kicked off from there. So it's just one of these wattles that has it's well and surely escaped its natural range. It's weedy now. You'll get people on the east coast not liking it. You know, in Western Australia, it'd be a beautiful plant. It'd be a really beautiful plant. It's hardy, it's very resilient. It's got a bit of a desert sort of Australian look to it, I think. Deep golden yellow flowers. This one isn't even in full cry yet, but when it is, it'll really be noticeable. But there's probably enough here on it to get a good look at it. Maybe in September, all these globular heads, which are still in bud, are really going to open up. So just note it's one that's well and truly escaped its range. We've got phyllodes potentially to 30 centimetres long, potentially to 30 centimetres, and up to 20 mil wide. So we've got some variable phyllodes going on. Just trying to find the longest one I can get my hands on. They've got a nice thickish texture. They remind me of, not that I spend a lot of time touching oleander, but they give me that sort of impression when I'm touching them here. A little bit rubbery. that's a nice long one there. They might be getting up to, yeah, that might be getting close to 20 centimetres, this one here. There's a really prominent gland at the base. I think I can see it. There it is there, just that paler pimple at the base there. I'll see if I can zoom in on it. Sort of, kinda. Bit hard with the phone. But you always got to look for these glands at the base of the phyllodes. Just helps you with your ID. I've just got a description that it's down near the base. There it is there. Sorry, there's a bit of tissue there from the ripped leaf. But yeah, there it is there. Just that pimple there at the bottom. It's pretty prominent. So you're always looking for that gland. Sometimes it's not always apparent, but sometimes they're absent. Sometimes there's more than one. But they're those glands there at the bottom. So they're a nice genuine phyllodes. They are very willow looking. They can have a bit of a weeping willow appearance overall. On this one, their phyllodes are sort of I don't know how you describe them. They're sort of a bluey green. They're almost a bluey green colour. There's not a lot of blue in them, but they've just got a little dash of blue when you look at them. When the sun gets on them at different angles, they can have a little bit of a bluey green look. Otherwise, they're just mid-green. They seem to be the same colour on both sides. Not that we're really looking at coloration and discoloration, but we did notice in the last wattle workshop that some leaves, they capture the discoloration of them for additional ID features. You got these really beautiful globular heads again. So another phyllodeal wattle producing globular heads. These heads can be up to about 12 to 13 mil diameter overall. That's pretty big and chunky for a wattle with globular heads. To get the globular heads up over 10 mil is pretty unusual, but remember it's not a New South Wales native, it's a Western Australian. Each globular head can have potentially up to 75 flowers. Normally it's 25 to 55 is one of the ranges stated online, but they can have up to 75 flowers per head. That's pretty impressive. So if we tried to count all those individual buds, can't even do this in the morning light and my eyes, but can probably see about 20 to 30 maybe on that side, maybe 20 at least if we counted them all. So that's pretty impressive. And then you get these beautiful structures here. I think each spray of globular heads can be up to about 8 centimetres long. I think they say about 8 centimetres long. I thought that was one globular spray, but then I noticed it's got leaves all along here. So what you're looking at is these individual units coming off at the branches. I think I read they're described as having up to about 8 heads or 10 heads maybe in each spray. And the overall sprays of globular heads or the racemes aren't very long, maybe up to about 8 centimetres long. I think it was something like that. So sprays of globular heads up to about 8 centimetres. I'm getting a bit tricked when I look at bits like this, but then I see that there's leaves in between the different globular head units. So they're typically coming off as something like that. Maybe up to 10 globular heads in the spray. And they're saying about 8 centimetres long. Here's one. Oh no, it's got leaves in between it again. Yeah, so sometimes you think that's a longer unit, but the leaves would sort of mean it's coming out of that leaf axil. So again, the individual sprays of globular heads aren't all that long. They are in these sort of racemose groups, like sort of along one axis. They're not branching out much into paniculate inflorescences. But not overly long, but maybe a little bit longer, just getting beyond the foliage in some cases. Although when the leaves get up to their full length, the phyllodes, they'd be sort of shorter than the phyllodes on many occasions. But it's just the size of that globular head. 12, when it's in full cry, 12 mil. I'd say some of these are more than that. These ones here, Yeah, look, it's taken up my whole thumbnail pretty much. Amazing. So maybe getting up to about 15 mil, 15 to 20 mil possibly. They're a really deep golden yellow, the golden wreath wattle. They're deeper than the fimbriata, which I just made a video on. These have a deeper yellow, deeper gold. Even possibly move into what we'd call dark yellow or golden yellow. So they just get a nice, beautiful tone to them. You know, they should be controlled through weed control. Ones like this, and especially when they're close to the coast in beach dune vegetation, they should be controlled. But like I said, it's growing on a wasteland here, and there's plenty more around. But just a beautiful plant. I'm just trying to have a look at the bark. The bark's on the other side of this cyclone fence, so I'm not really going to be able to get to it. But it's fibrous. It does have the smooth. It does have smooth upper limbs. So they're nice and smooth. I can't really pull any, I couldn't really pull any bark off those if I tried, but down the bottom of the tree there, it's gone fibrous. There's some, yeah, it looks like some shortly fibrous chunks I can pull off. It's starting to look a little bit like a stringy bark eucalypt, or possibly even a little bit like an ironbark eucalypt there at the bottom. There'd just be some short fibres there I could pull off, but as you come up the stems, they're nice and smooth. So it's got a bit of mixed bark, more fibrous down the bottom. That trunk I'm looking at, it's easily about 30 centimetres across. It's got multiple old branches at the base there, about a metre above the ground, but it would, if we just put a ruler there at about a metre or maybe half a metre above ground level, it would be 30 centimetres across. So they're a nice, genuine, heavy tree. If you wanted to cut this one down, you definitely want a chainsaw. So they're one of the longer lived wattles too. They don't tend to be that short-lived Acacia saligna. They can live a bit longer than the average wattle. This one would have been here for a while. I'd say this one, I know they can grow quickly, but with a 30 centimetre trunk, you got to think this one's been here for at least, I'd say 10 years or more, probably a lot longer. So that's Acacia saligna, easy one to identify. You just get your eye in for the foliage. Remember, it's not a New South Wales species in Western Australia. I'm not sure if you can confuse it with some other ones over there, but it's just the appearance of when they're in flower, the golden yellow. It's very hard to misidentify them for any other wattle. I think the phyllodes have a little mucro on the end as well. A lot of these wattles do. Just a little bit of toughened tissue on the edge of the leaf there, a little mucro. So you can look out for those as well. Be hard to capture on the phone, but there it is. It's just a little bit of toughened tissue on the edge of the leaf. A lot of grevilleas and hakeas have mucros, and a lot of these phyllodeal wattles have them as well. So Acacia saligna, if you're on the east coast or if you're outside of Australia, yeah, you might want to get rid of it, unfortunately. But yeah, it's got a bit of an ecological issue attached to it. Sad because it's such an attractive plant.